Hey guys, welcome back to this Python tutorial. Now today we're going to talk about functions, but before we start talking about function, I just wanted to show you how to actually save Python code and run it from the file, because right now we're using shell, where if we just do print hello world, we just get a hello world in our shell. But what we want to do is we want to move from this shell, write something, hit a execute button, and then the file executes and Python prints out something for us. So let's just go and save this file. I'll quickly save this on my documents. We'll save it here. Save file. And we'll just write a bunch of lines here. Names are Nat, Pat, and Matt, and we're just gonna write a for loop for name in names and print name. Now we want to save this file, and once we run it, as you can see, the file is printing Nat, Pat, and Matt. So now we no longer need to run anything on the shell, so let's close the shell for example and then run file directly here. As you can see, you probably didn't see it open up on my second screen. So as you can see, it comes up with the Nat, Pat, and Matt, and it's asking press enter to close. Now if you're running, because I've installed this program called ConEmu console, which sort of wraps around your command prompt and it just makes the command prompt better, so you can install that. I'll leave a link in the description section, and but that's why this command prompt has actually is waiting for me to take action before it closes. But if you're on a standard Windows command prompt, this might actually close instantly when you finish, when the code executes. So yeah guys, that's the way to save your file and execute. You can either double click on it and it just executes, or you can right click on it, go edit Python in idle, and then you can press F5 to run it, or you can run from run module here, and that just prints the same code. So that's how you save your Python code and run it later on whenever you want. Now this can be a script that you are doing some task, and then you can use Windows Task Scheduler to actually schedule a task for your Python script to do something. Yeah, it can be used in various different ways. So now let's start talking about functions. Now what functions are, guys? It's not just a Python specific. Functions are a way to package your code, so you can call a block of code as many times as you want, as you need it. So for example, if I have a list of names, which I'll probably go back and bring that, and I want to print those names. Now I'm gonna just write for name in names and print name. So now if I have another list, let's say VIP names, and I have Brad, Aslam, and Ram, and I need to print VIP names. Now I actually need to write another for loop for VIP names, for V names, I'll call it, in names, sorry, my bad, VIP names, print name, V names. So now if I execute this, it's going to print two different names here. So it printed first Nat, Pat, and Matt, and then it printed Brad, Aslam, and Ram, or however you want to pronounce it. So we're kind of doing a similar thing here, but we're doing it twice. So what we would do if we're using Python functions is we're gonna define a function called print names, and this function now takes a list of names. Let's call it list of names, and now we will write this for loop here within this function. So we'll just say for, now list of name is our variable, name in list of names. Let's copy that and paste, print names. Now I'm just going to quickly use this before we actually before I go ahead and explain what's really happening there, and I'm going to comment this out, guys. So commenting out a code means this part of code will be not executed by the interpreter. So this is just a description type of thing. So right now it's not really a description. We're just going to comment this out so Python doesn't think that that's a code. And we will run this function. Now we've written this function, and this is not going to execute on itself. We need to call the function. So let's call print names, and we will give this name VIP names list, VIP names, and we will run this command. Again, you can do run module or press F5. I'll press F5, and as you can see, it did the exact same thing. Brad, Aslam, and Ram printed VIP names. Now let's call it again, so we don't have to write all that code for loops again. Print names, and we'll just call it names, and let's run it again and see what happens. So we got all the names printed: Brad, Aslam, and Ram, Nat, Pat, and Matt. So all the names are now printed using one function named print names. So now let's look at how it all works. So now def is a syntax. So you need, this means define. So what are we defining? A new function, which is name is print names. And now this function actually takes something. So this function takes a variable called list of names. So now this list of names is, at the moment we're providing list. Now you can have this variable here take anything, then you will do your own check to define what you really want to do with that variable inside the function. And then what we're doing is we're using this variable that's defined here. So when I call print names and VIP names, I'm passing this list's memory address to this function over here, right? So once we pass that, and then my function's gonna go, oh, I've got a list of names and I know what to do. So I'm just gonna loop through each list of names within this list, and I'm gonna print them one by one. So then I'm just using a for loop. If you don't know what for loop is, you can check out my video. I'm assuming you probably know by now. So we're printing each name here, and then our function ends when we print the last name, which is Ram, and we just move into the next line, and then it again calls the function with the new variable names and the different list, and it prints again. It does the same repetition, and it prints all the name. So that's just the basic of function, guys. Function can actually do a lot of things, and we'll elaborate more on that. So there's a couple of other things I wanted to show you here, just to make the concept of programming clear, because I was really confused when I started learning programming. So now, whatever happens inside a function always stays within the function. And what that means is, it might not really mean much right now, but you will understand it as you write more functions and write more code. So for example, if I define a variable named my name and just write, let's say, John Doe, and now this variable, when this function starts, this variable gets created, and when this function ends, which is after printing the last name in the list, this variable will actually be cleared out from the memory. This variable does not stay outside this function. Now to check that, I'm going to quickly show you how it works. So as you can see, we've defined a function here. This function will be callable and it will still stay in the memory. The function itself will stay with these lines, but the variable we've defined only exists in memory when the function is called. So let's run this. And as you can see, we've got our name printed, and I just want to show you right now. So we're in this shell where our code was executed. So we're still within our location of the save.py file I saved earlier. So now let's write a new list. This list contains just random stuff: eggs, oil, and onions. We can call that a recipe for omelets. And now I can call that print names function again and pass this new list. As you can see, eggs, oil, and onions are printed again. But what you can't do is, now let me call that variable my name. My name is not defined. See? And why is that? We can call that function, but my name is no longer defined. That is because my name only exists when the function was executing. And when we came to this statement, our function actually stopped executing, and therefore my name is now not defined. We are already out of that state in the memory. It's been cleared away. Now what I'm going to do is just quickly write here print my name, and I'm just going to copy this function into the shell, and we'll call that function again, print names new list. Now as you can see, my name exists while this function is running, John Doe, right? But now if I call it again, my name does not exist. This is a very important topic, or the concept you guys need to remember. These are the things that's going to make you pull your hair out when you're trying to learn programming. So now therefore what functions can do is functions can return something when they stop executing, or they finish executing all the statements within the function, or that can be before the function as well. So for example, I want to return my name when we're done here, and I'm just going to call that, and now we're going to print that list again, and let's see what happens. So now we have a name John Doe printed without having a print name statement. How did that happen? So we got my name as a string. Here, as you can see, John Doe was printed on the screen. But here you can see a string variable was returned, which points to the memory location where John Doe is stored. Now, what we can do is we can call that function again and store that into new name, and now we have a new name variable outside this function that actually holds the name that was inside the function that we called. Now this might be a little bit confusing, guys, so don't worry if that's the case. It will eventually make sense, and these other things in programming, they knock you off multiple times. I know I was when I was learning, I was up to the point every time where I thought, programming is not for me, and I was gonna give up, but I never did. So, and I'm in a much better position right now. And yeah, so if you're feeling like that, don't worry about it. You're just gonna get through it. It's like learning anything at the first it just gets overwhelming, and as you start to observe and consume the concept and all that, and it will all make sense. So I hope that helps, guys. We'll see you on the next video. Thank you.